Well, again, I'm a one-trick pony. It all comes down to trust in my view, and I view collaboration as a key part of trust. To trust somebody, I think means implicitly you're collaborating with them. You probably share goals together, or you probably share a common mission, big or little, and you are probably you have to be operating from something more than a transactional perspective. You got to have a slightly longer time frame, whether you're collaborating to get something done in 2 weeks or 2 years or 2 decades. So I think collaboration and trust are quite an overlapping kind of a concept. So if you want to get good at collaborating people, I'm going to approach that by saying, how do you get good at trusting and being trusted by people? And I think we're going to end up very much in the same place. And by the way, both are a good thing. It is good to be trusted by people, almost without, I can't think of any exceptions, honestly. And it's good for them too, unless you're a con artist. If you're Bernie Madoff, then shame on you for having trusted somebody. I should mention one other thing too. Trust and collaboration, they fall into this fog sculpting soft realm, and I anyway glaze over. I had an undergraduate degree in philosophy and then got an MBA. The undergraduate degree was worthless for about 20 years, but in retrospect, it made me very good at critical thinking, and the MBA very pragmatic. So I just have a very low tolerance for meaningless verbiage. And trust, if you just throw a dart into the internet and it's all babble. Very little, makes sense, practical, common sense, nuts and bolts, what do I do kind of talk. So that's very much how I approach it. And here's one of the simplest distinctions of all. There's a difference between trust and trusting and being trusted, or trust, trusting, and trustworthiness. Trust is a noun. It's the relationship between two parties, a relationship of trust. It comes about by one person who does the trusting and one person who is trusted. What it takes to do trusting, to trust somebody, is risk taking. And what it takes to be trustworthy or trusted, I think of it more as like personal virtues, like I mentioned before: credible, reliable, safe, low self-orientation. So, and you got to do both. You can't just be trustworthy and hope that people will notice you. Usually the way trust interactions start off is the trustor, the one doing the trusting, takes a risk or decides to take a risk. So if you really want to kickstart things, we also have to learn how to get good at trusting others. And I'll talk in the class mostly about trusting our clients, but the truth is it works for other people. It works for your coworkers. It works for your boss. It works for people you meet on the street. It works for dogs. I mean, the dynamics between sentient beings are all pretty similar. If somebody looks really suspicious at me and acts like they don't trust it, or behaves badly towards me, guess what? I'm going to behave badly towards you. And if somebody, offers me some small act of kindness or evidence of trust, guess what? I'm not going to abuse that. I'm not going to be mean to somebody who's nice and trusted me. And the vast majority of human beings on this planet, and even more so of people in business, are like that. The world is not full of rip-off artists. The world is full of people who return good for good and bad for bad. So we'll talk a little bit about trusting as well as being trustworthy, although I don't have as much data on that. But I think for a financial audience, that's particularly important, because you guys live in a world that says the only good risk is a dead risk. How do you mitigate risk? How do you avoid risk? No, if you never take a risk, you're never going to get anything. You're not going to get trusted by other people. Why should people trust you if you don't trust them? The answer is they shouldn't, and they don't.